So I've just moved my worm cafe that was in underneath the patio, and I've just moved it out into the sun to get a bit more sun on it. And it's been outside for over a week now, and we did get quite a bit of rain, and I hadn't really kind of noticed that it was actually getting too much water inside it. So we do have an infestation of potworms. And if you don't know what potworms are, stay tuned, I'll show you. So these potworms are always in your bin, but just not in great numbers. They only start to really explode in population as when the conditions are right for them. So in that case, it would either be too acidic or too wet. It's not a disaster. We can get this under control. So what I'm going to try and do to help get rid of those little potworms is I'm just going to be putting some lime through it. That's supposed to be really good to sort of rid those worms out of the bin there. They're not really a huge problem, but because the conditions are not right in there for the composting worms, and it's the right environment for those potworms, it's because it's either A, too acidic, or it's too wet in there. And I know that over the last week or so, I've noticed it has been a lot wetter than normal, the bin. So I think the population has exploded for those potworms. So I'm going to pop some of that lime in there, and hopefully that will reduce the problem, reduce their population. So I've had this open today just to try and dry it out a little bit. It has been quite rainy as well, but if you dig down to the bottom, you can still see them. I mean, you're going to have some in your bin. Doesn't matter how hard you try, but you just want to keep them under control. So I'll take this top layer off. I'll just pop you down for a moment. Yeah, so this is the second tier, and you could probably see a lot of the white ones. And this is actually feeling a little bit too wet. Doesn't really have a smell to it, so it's still getting oxygen through it, so it's not anaerobic. But if you just see, there's those little white ones all through this bin. So I'll just roll up this towel. Probably see under here as well. See all of those? They do really love the avocado though. I notice every time I put it in I do get quite a few of those, but anywho, I'll just sprinkle some lime over, and that'll help dry the bin out a bit as well. It'd be alright for the worms. Just sort of mix that through. So you can see quite a number in there as well. But anyway, we'll get it under control. That's just one of the things that you just need to sort of check up on your worm bin. Just making sure, yeah, it's not overwatered, it's not overfed. I know I don't feed any acidic food to my worms, so I'm pretty confident that it's not too acidic in here. I did use the pH tester, my little tumbleweed pH tester on it, and yeah, it just came back neutral, so like 7 on the scale. I'll just see what the bottom tier looks like. That's just kind of dry, so I'm just going to leave that dry. I'm not going to make that any wet or anything. I'll just put a little handful on top here as well. And what I might just do is, I'll take that off there for now, just let the sun shine on that for a little bit, even though it's not an overly sunny day. I'll just, hopefully it'll be enough just to maybe dry them up a little bit. Other ways you can use to reduce the amount of moisture in your bin as well, and to balance out any acidity, is you can use crushed up eggshells into a nice powder form. You can put in some more carbon, some shredded newspaper. It's not too detrimental to the worms. The only time it would be is if the infestation really exploded, like there was more potworms in your bin than composting worms. And that's when the composting worms would be not getting as much of the fungi and the bacteria, because the potworms are eating it all. So don't be too alarmed if you do have an explosion of these potworms. Everything can always be put back under control just with a few measures. So just try a few different things that work, and the main thing is just to try and just dry the bin out a little bit. Obviously not too dry, because otherwise that will affect the compost worms, but just trying to get that right balance. But hopefully you don't get potworms in your worm farm. If you do, you'll know what to do. Okay, thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.